The secret meeting on Jekyll Island would significantly influence the course of American politics, economics, and finance. The previous banking panics in the late 1800s and the very early 1900s bolstered this notion of a central banking system that would act as a decentralized central bank that would provide stability to the country's financial system. The secret meeting that took place in November 1910 included prominent figures such as U.S. Senator and the Chairman of the National Monetary Commission, Nelson Aldrich, Henry Davison, senior partner of J.P. Morgan, and Frank Vanderlip, the president of Citibank. It was a star-studded lineup of well-connected and respected men who seemed to believe that the interests of the nation meshed well with their own. Eventually, the Federal Reserve Act was signed into law by President Woodrow Wilson on December 23, 1913. Today, there are mixed sentiments whenever one dares to mention the Federal Reserve. Some believe the Federal Reserve to be a necessary institution for a thriving economic and financial system, whilst others see it as a virus that threatens the very existence of American democracy. The argument used to create the Federal Reserve was against the wave of bank panics and financial crises that threatened the stability of the nation's economy. The widely held belief was that the Federal Reserve would prevent these crises from occurring. Unfortunately, this belief was misguided. After the Federal Reserve was instituted, America fell into its greatest crisis in its history, the Great Depression. The entire globe suffered massive consequences, including mass unemployment, famines, and even death. One would have thought that this episode would have entirely discredited the Federal Reserve, but this was not so. The Great Depression was blamed on many contributing factors, whatever those were. The Federal Reserve was in the clear. Even the housing crash in 2008 was not enough to question the legitimacy of the Federal Reserve. It reigned supreme. So maybe it is the Federal Reserve that is destroying America. Maybe or maybe not. I decided to look at America before the introduction of the Federal Reserve and quickly realized that America's financial system had many periods of troubling instability and wealth disparities. As America grew in size and power, the financial system had to grow to accommodate the new conditions. Interestingly, from this perspective, the introduction of a central bank was an inevitability. Or was it? Author James Howard Kunstler, in his seminal work, The Geography of Nowhere, laments the idea that Americans came to view their landscape as a commodity for exploitation rather than as a social resource. As a result, America rapidly built what he considers to be a tragic landscape. According to Kunstler, this tragic landscape includes highway strips, parking lots, housing tracts, mega malls, junk cities, and a ravaged countryside. It is what Americans demanded, and it's what they got, courtesy of those decentralized central bankers providing easy credit terms to land developers and other businesses. The United States government played their part as well. Author James Howard Kunstler identified a phenomena that can have deleterious consequences to a society. This rapid growth and development is synonymous to instant gratification. This instant gratification is influenced by us, the average person. The US government and the Federal Reserve are merely enablers. It is human nature to want instant gratification. Delayed gratification is a virtue that is hard to come by. As a result, Americans always tend to want some benefit sooner rather than later. And the government understands that appeasing the electorate is the surest way to remain in office. So when times are good, we demand attractive parks, mega malls, and more amenities. And when times are bad, we demand social security benefits, taxing the rich, free healthcare, and affordable housing. Americans always expect government to be the solution in varying degrees. This then necessitates easing of monetary policies, which leads to inflation and the separation of the rich from the poor. One of the fathers of finance, Richard Cantillon, provides the broader picture. In his book, The Essay on Economic Theory, Cantillon explains how the economy works and how human nature influences it. At the beginning of the cycle, the citizens are poor. They focus on being very productive in the labor force and they focus on saving. This productivity and savings that turn into investments results in an economic boom. The nation becomes a creditor nation with a trade surplus. The nation exports goods to other nations and money flows into the country as a result. That money then circulates throughout the economy. Corporations get bigger, businesses become plentiful, and the standard of living within the nation generally start to improve. When the general standard of living improves, the citizens adjust their lifestyles to benefit. The citizens then become accustomed to that lifestyle and start dabbling in luxury, materialism, and experiences such as traveling. This is great when done in moderation, but humans inevitably want more and more of the luxuries and less of the work. Citizens start demanding such things as a work-life balance, more vacation time, and more pay. The citizens become less productive and more costly, all at the same time. To compensate for this, corporations hike prices to remain profitable in the domestic economy, causing a general increase in the prices of goods and services. Meanwhile, there are other nations whose citizens are poor, hardworking, and productive. These nations are able to produce goods of similar quality at a fraction of the cost. Those nations then send those goods to our nation and we purchase those goods because they're more affordable. In this way, capital starts to flow out of the country and into other nations. Our nation becomes one of spenders rather than savers, and a nation of debtors rather than creditors. As materialism, hedonism, and this blind pursuit of happiness increases, strong work ethic, discipline, and purpose decreases. The nation of strong men is replaced by a nation filled with weak men. This results in instability as wealth disappears and vices increase. The cycle ends with the masses being in abject poverty once more. So you see, we are really the ones to blame for the situation we find ourselves in. Yes, the governments and central banks may be nefarious, but it is ultimately our own actions that have produced this result. So, did we destroy the economy? Yes, but then it stands to reason that we can also fix it. If we decide to shun materialism, save, and work hard, then our lives will be filled with purpose and our children will inherit a world far better than our own.